What inspired me to start this podcast was twofold. I was a former therapist, and I found that I really couldn't help people in the way that I wanted to. And I came across these teachings maybe about 5 years ago from a man named Neville Goddard. Very different from law of attraction. It's called the law of assumption. And it really opened up my life and opened up my understanding of what God is and what God is not, and how your imagination is the most powerful tool that we have. So I'm at this point now where I want to give that to other people and liberate them. This podcast is for people, number one, who are willing to put down sort of the religious dogma that we've been sort of fed, right? God is everything and everyone, right? He's not constricted to the Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, whatever, right? God is everything and everyone. And people who feel limited, particularly by the mental shackles that they formed, and that understanding that reality is so malleable, right? Like, we think because you can touch and see something that it's real, but is it? You know? So with that, you can have the life that you want. See, I'm a rebel with a cause, right? And my cause is to flip this whole manifesting community upside down. No more techniques, no more putting waters in a cup, no more mantras and affirmations, all that stuff. Just resting in the awareness of who you are, right? Because we're God in human form, right? So just living a life of ease, heaven on earth, right? Who doesn't want that? So it's for someone who's ready for that, and someone who's probably sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, like they're at the end of the rope, like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be this person anymore. Well, great news, you don't have to be. So in reading Neville Goddard, it led me to the teachings of non-duality, which means not two. There is no separation. Everything is an absolute illusion, right? So I am you, you are me, I'm these lights, we're just all an expression of consciousness, right? So knowing that there's nothing that exists outside of consciousness. So your desires aren't out there somewhere. They're here. Where can they be, right? If nothing exists outside of that. So understanding that everything is within. If you can think it, it's already done, right? So it's not so much about getting things, because I don't teach that, but being. Be, do, have. Who you're being dictates what you do, and what you do dictates what you have, right? So resting, again, in the awareness of who you are, then you naturally just experience your desires, right? I could want a husband or $500 million all day long, but if I don't put myself in the state of being a wife or a fractal billionaire at that point, then it's all for naught. Neville talks about imagination. The human imagination is actually God, right? And if you think about it, everything has first started in imagination, right? The clothes I'm wearing, this cup, this book, this carpet, everything first started in someone's head, right? It just doesn't appear. If you can imagine yourself into what he calls the wish fulfilled, right? So let's say you want to be married. Don't imagine your wedding day. That's the wish. What would you be doing like 5-10 years down the line? Maybe arguing with your husband about who took out the trash last. You know what I mean? Just something that implies the wish is fulfilled. And how does that make you feel? You can even ask yourself the question, how would it feel if XYZ were true? Return to that feeling, right? Keep on returning to that feeling. And if you keep on persisting in that assumption, it will harden into fact. I mean, we've seen in society some assumptions, that people have that they persist in, and it is hardened into fact for them. And if you look at your life objectively, if you reverse engineer, you'll see that it's true. You live the life that you expect, not the one that you want. We talked about the imagination. There's something that he talks about, it's sort of abbreviated as SATS, which is the state akin to sleep. Sleep is a very powerful, powerful period of the day. Let's say you imagine a scene, right? Maybe 5-10 seconds at most. As you're falling asleep, loop that scene, right? If we're going to go with techniques here, loop that scene into sleep. You should feel a sense of fulfillment, right? As if it is done, right? So you're not looking out there, because this world is just a mirror. It's a reflection, right? So if you told me that I had lipstick on my teeth, I would look really silly going to the mirror and trying to fix that. I would fix what's being reflected to it. So people often try to fix what's out there, but you can only change yourself, and then the change happens out there, right? So you have to assume the state of whatever it is that you desire. Your state is always going to lead. So your actions are going to come from this state. So they call it inspired action, but you will just be inspired to do something. I love butterflies because they start as caterpillars, right? Maybe not the most nice looking creatures, but the change just comes, right? There's no effort into then going to the cocoon, the metamorphosis. It just happens. There's no like busting a blood vessel, of effort. It's just the natural evolution of a caterpillar. The chains that I would hope they break through are mental shackles. There's a line from a Bob Marley song, freeing yourself from mental slavery. And I think that is the biggest entrapment. And we see it all around us. People put up all kinds of walls, and it might have other people's names on it, other demographics, but it's all just chains. What's the fear of letting that go? What do you have to lose? Who you are is just really pure consciousness, right? Everything after I am is a story that you've been telling yourself. Definitely people who are near and dear to me in this community. My coach, Ken Dacey, Tucharon, a very, very well respected, and one of my dear friends, Kristen Jackson, and some other people I can think of, but also people outside of this community, right, who have broken out of their mental shackles. And I'm part of such a great, I call them my sisters, but they're my friends, just very strong women who are just, boots on the ground, just making a way and just doing awesome things in their lives. The past nor the future exists. You only ever have the present moment, and you can change it like this. No one remembers the past but you. The future has, it's never the future. Like next Tuesday, when you get there, it'll be now, right? So stop cleaving yourself to things that don't matter. Nothing matters but the present moment. I just closed my practice July 31st, and I was booked and busy. I was doing well. But I always ask myself this question when I get to a crossroads. Which one can you bear? Grief or guilt, right? So could I bear the guilt of leaving my clients, or the grief of not giving myself the life that I wanted? And I decided that I could live with the guilt. What led me to become a life coach, it's more expansive than just being a therapist, right? I don't have to tell these insurance companies that this person may not have a chronic mental health issue but does need help. I don't have to answer to anybody, and I feel like I can help people a lot more holistically, because people are searching for something. They're searching for something, and knowing that you already are what you want to be, it's already in there. You already are. You just don't know it yet. It's a lot more liberating than sending in codes to Aetna. So join me on the Boundless Bond podcast, where non-duality meets manifesting.